Hello friends, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a 3D image, an anaglyph. That is an image that's going to be viewed through red and blue glasses. And here's my subject. It's Goldie's udder. And you'll see that I've taken two photographs. A photograph from a perspective slightly to the left, and then moving over just a couple of inches, photograph from where my right eye would see it. So where my left eye sees it, from where my right eye sees it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put these both into layers in a third document. So what I'm going to do here is I'll start with the left one, and I'm going to select all, Command A, copy that, and I'm just going to make a new document. It'll automatically size it to the size I just had there, and paste that in, okay? And then I'm going to come to the right one, Command A selects all of it, copy, and I'm going to come over here and I will paste it in. And you'll see it pastes in as a separate layer. So I have two layers in this untitled document, two layers, a layer 1 and a layer 2. And the layer 1 can be viewed if I turn off layer 2. So that eyeball turns off layer 2 that's sitting on top of layer 1. Turn it back on. Okay, so now I've got those two layers. All right, so anaglyphs work the best if there's not a lot of color information in the photograph itself because of the competition with the screen that we're going to put on, the red and the blue screen. Sometimes the colors throw things off. So I'm going to desaturate these layers. I'll do them independently. So here I'm layer 2, and I'm going to come into Image Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Hue Saturation, and I'm going to turn this down. Now you can play around with how much you want to turn it down. I'm going to turn this one down almost to black and white. So there's just a tad bit of color in there, but basically almost to black and white. And I'll do the same with layer 1, Image Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and I'll go down the same amount. Okay, so those could go to totally to black and white if you want, but you got to get most of the color out for this to work well. Okay, now next step is that I want to actually create a red version of the one that was on the right, on the left I should say, and a blue version of the one that was on the right. Now remember, I started by getting the left, that's layer 1. I'm going to change the name of this so I don't forget what's what. So I'm going to change this one to left, and I'll double click here. I'm going to change this one to right. So I just remember which was which. If I forget, I can always look and say, okay, there's the one from the left-hand perspective. There's the one from the right-hand perspective. That's good. Okay. Now I'm going to, on the create for the right one, I'm going to create a blue, essentially a blue filter, blue screen for it. And the way I do that is by creating a layer, a new layer. And the layer is going to be on top of this one. Okay, so it's on top of the right-hand image. I want to fill that with a blue color. Now I want to get the right blue color, so I'm going to double click here, and I've already done it here, but the numbers are that I've played with that have worked the best, and I have them as a place for you to start, is setting the red to 39, the green to 137, and the blue to 194. As you change these, so if I change that to 0, you'll see that it changes the color. These are the red, blue components, red, blue, and green components of the color. It's an RGB color when it's on a screen, and so it has a red, blue, and a green number, and that's how additive color works on the screen. Red plus blue plus green equals white, and the different components of that will each equal different colors. So 39, 137, 194 is one that I found works. That gives me that blue color. And then I can just grab the paint bucket. Here, the paint bucket's under the gradient tool if you haven't seen it, and that's an easy way to just fill that layer. Now I know it's that layer because that layer is highlighted over here. Eyeball is on for it, so it's ready to go. And I just fill it, and you're like, oh no, you've ruined the picture. Not really, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that blend with this layer below it and create a blue version of the right-hand picture. So watch how I do that. I change the blending style from normal to screen. And What that does now is it creates a screen over the whole thing. I haven't actually blended it with just this layer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these two layers by holding down the command key so that they're both selected. Until I do this, it's actually going to be blending with everything, and I only want it to blend with this one. So I select the two of them, and then I come up here to layer, and merge those layers. It's going to merge just the blue with right, leaving me a blue version of the image. So far, so good. Now, if I turn that off, you'll see that the other image doesn't have any blue on it, because I've merged the blue with just the right. I'm going to rename that one now right again, because right, so I don't get confused. Okay, now left, I want to make do the same thing, but I want to make this one red. So I'm going to insert a new layer, okay, and make sure that layer is on top, and I'm going to fill that with red. And the color red that works the best is 250, 50, 50. So I do red at 250. And you may find different colors that work for you, but this is what works for the lenses that I've given you, at least in my opinion. Okay, 250, 50, 50. You see, that gives me that kind of a red there. It's not a pure red, but it's a little off. And I say, okay. And then I come make sure I've got my paint bucket. I've got layer 1 turned on. It's highlighted, ready to go. It's active. I fill it. You see I've got a red layer. You can see that it's pure red covering over the other one, but I really want to now blend these two. So I change the blending mode to screen. Okay. And I want to combine them, so I'm going to select them both by holding down Command. And now come over here to Layer, Merge Layers. So it's going to merge those two layers. Now I've got a red version that represents my left-hand view. Label that left so I don't get confused. And a blue version that represents my right-hand view. Now notice that the blue version is covering over the red. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and make these two blend together. There's a kind of blending mode that will do this correctly for these anaglyphs. Instead of screen, which is what I was choosing before, I'm going to choose now multiply. It's a different algorithm for blending two layers. And it gives me both of these together. Now, see how they're offset a little bit. So this is kind of a problem right now. They're not quite lined up anywhere. I want to try to get the thing I'm interested in lined up as best I can. It won't be perfect because the two pictures are different from one another. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag now if you notice, the blue layer is the one that I'm dragging. So if I come here and I get this tool to move things around, I'm only going to move the one that's selected. So I'm moving here, and see, you can't tell that until I get it over that the blue layer is the one that's moving. I'm going to get the thing that I'm most interested in, the thing in the foreground, in this case, say that part of the other in the foreground there, lined up. Now, of course, there's this thing on the side that I'm going to have to crop out. But what I want to do now is to just have a look at this, and I look at it through my glasses, and it definitely looks 3D. It also looks very dark through my glasses. So I'm going to add an adjustment layer to brighten the whole thing up. Your adjustment layers are available by going to Window Adjustments, and there are all kinds of adjustment layers that you can use. You can turn things black and white and do other things here. But right now I'm going to use the brightness and contrast adjustment layer. This adjustment layer will adjust everything below it. So it goes in here and it'll adjust the contrast of both the other layers. And then I'm just going to turn the brightness way up. And while looking at it with my glasses, I'm going to get it to where I like it. You can also change the contrast. I'm going to boost the contrast a little bit, just a bit here. I look at it with my glasses until I feel like I like the look through my glasses. It definitely looks 3D to me. And once I get that done, now I can come in here and I'm getting ready to be done. I could go ahead and crop this thing. So I'm going to come in here, make sure none of my layers are selected, so I'm not only cropping one layer. I'm just going to come in here and let me get rid of this properties here. Okay, with my marquee tool, and I'm just going to get just the part of this image that I want to keep. I want to get rid of that red where I slid the blue over to make things match. And now I'm going to crop this, and it's under image and crop, and now I've got the image looking about like I want it. Now I can still slide things around and crop some more if I don't like how things look through my glasses, but for now that looks pretty good. And my last step is simply going to be to go to File, Save As. Now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go ahead and save this as under 3D working. Notice I had my utter left and utter right in there. Oh, that was where I got my original things from. I'm going to save this as utter Photoshop document, just in the working file there, just in case I want to slide things around or change the brightness if I'm not happy with it. I'll go ahead and save it there. And then I'm going to also go in and say, you know what? I want to change the image size so that it's correct for my page. So let's say I wanted it to be, say, 800 pixels wide. Page is 960. It's going to float in the middle there. That sounds great. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and then Save As. And I will now save this to my Multimedia in Mind, not under the working, but in the Muse website. I'll go in here to where I'm working 3D website, and I'm going to call this Utter, but I'm going to change it to JPEG so that it collapses all those layers, utter.jpg, and now it's going into 3D website. It will be ready to go on my page, and I will say OK. And now if I look at that image, the finished image is in here. I'll just show you what it looks like when I bring it up normally. And there it is. And that finished image is the one that will go on my website and be viewable with glasses that have the red on the left and the blue on the white right. All right. It's a lot of steps, but I've tried to go slowly, and hopefully you'll be able to get it. All right. Take care.